This Black Friday edition of Pucks Across Borders on Sports Addict Live, and as always, Total Apex Sports, brought to you by the one, the only First Round Collectibles. Right now, with our Sports Addict, get 10% off whatever sports card you want in the entire First Round Collectibles store. They have an ongoing sale up to 50% off, tons and tons of cards, and with our promo code Sports Addict, not only do you get 10% off of regular priced items, but sales items as well. Do the math. 20 becomes 30, 30, 40, 40, 50, 50, 60. You get the idea. Go to firstroundcollectibles.com today. Use promo code SportsAddict for 10% off your order. Pick your sport: hockey, football, basketball, baseball, wrestling, even boxing, whatever it is. I promise you they have it. Head to firstroundcollectibles.com today. Use promo code SportsAddict for 10% off your order. That's number one, STRoundcollectibles.com, firstroundcollectibles.com. First Round Collectibles, sports cards for sports fans.
Yeah. You just gotta go hard. I bring the pain. What you used to. It's all part of the game. I just gotta go hard. I just gotta go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Yeah.
And welcome to this Black Friday edition of Pucks Across Borders on Sports Addict Live and Total Apex Sports. Happy Thanksgiving to all of our American viewers out there. We appreciate you joining us each and every day. Hope you're having a great, relaxing Thanksgiving week. And as you can see, Andre not with us today. He's enjoying his Thanksgiving. His thing. He deserves the time off. And with me, appreciate it. Been talking to you for a couple years now. Been, trying to get you on throughout the years, and you're here. My guy, Sean from Roto Ballers. How you doing, man? It's good to have you on the show.
I'm good. Yeah, I'm excited. It's, American Thanksgiving. Absolutely. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody in the U.S. watching us. Hope you enjoyed your turkey yesterday. I'm sure there's leftovers ready to go for today, and a full NHL slate that we got going on.
Yeah, I mean, I was joking with you before the show. We're both from Canada, specifically Ontario, and I was joking with you that, as Canadians, we're kind of like the little brother, judging the older brother in the States a lot of times. We're looking at the news and this is happening. But I'll tell you, man, they have the holidays right. Like a 4-day holiday weekend a month before Christmas. Like, it's just the absolute dream. I'm jealous of it every year. I have friends and family in the States, as do you, I'm sure. And I get jealous of it every single year. It's the best. And now they got Black Friday. You and I get to stay home and watch the games, but all the hockey fans in Canada are like, what? You guys, like, no hockey Thanksgiving night? And now there's a bunch of day games? What do I got to do here?
Yeah, I mean, the NHL, I mean, I get why, they don't want to go up against football, the NFL and actual Thanksgiving Thursday, but 15 gamer on Wednesday, 15 gamer today, games all through the day, got 12 games tomorrow. It's just glorious chaos at this point.
Absolutely. So there are 14 games in the NHL tonight, starting in about an hour from now. So we will get right to it. But you're new to the show. I haven't had you on before, and I wanted to ask you. I didn't prep you for this because I'm a bad host, not even a host of a show, but it's like you're in my home, and I'm a bad host. But the NHL. I'll throw it at you. Typical low-hanging fruit question. What is the most surprising thing about the NHL season thus far to you? We're at American Thanksgiving, and you hear it a lot throughout the league. The season doesn't get real until American Thanksgiving. So we're here. It's American Thanksgiving. What's the most surprising thing going on in the NHL for you?
Well, I mean, a couple of things probably, I guess. I mean, the first thing, the Jets starting out, 15-1, 16-1 or whatever they started out as.
Yep.
That was a crazy start to the season. I mean, they set the records. Best start ever. Shout out to the Leafs for having the first loss, though, by the way. I gotta say, I thoroughly enjoyed that.
There's a little bit of pride to that, right?
There's a little bit of pride to that, yeah, absolutely, and stop them from starting the season 10-0. So we kept our record intact too. So anyway, shout out there. But probably bigger than that is probably the Washington Capitals. They just seem to have come back from the dead almost and are looking legit. It sucks what happened to Ovi because he was on pace to break Gretzky's record in fewer games. I don't know if that's still going to be the case by the time he gets back, but Washington. I keep waiting for them to kind of come back down and regrade, back to where they were, and they walk into Tampa. They beat Tampa the other night. They just keep getting it done, and it's been a surprise. I thought when they traded for Pierre-Luc Dubois, I'm like, okay, here we go. This is getting
I know.
I gotta say that Washington has definitely been one of the bigger surprises for me.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like Washington was one of those teams where I was like, okay, they made it into the playoffs. They weren't very good. Everyone talked about the point differential and all those things. They made it there. And I looked at what they did in the offseason. I was like, okay, PLD, it's like where the guy just sewers teams over and over and over again. But I looked at what they did over the offseason and I was like, you know what? Like they didn't get worse. So maybe they'll be okay. Maybe they'll whatever. For me, one of my biggest surprises, and this is one that really pumps my ego because I said at the beginning of the year, I said that the Calgary are too good of a roster. They have too many good players to be this like de facto lottery pick that everybody is saying they're going to be. Like I just figured that they were going to be at least in the mix. Did I think they'd be at the top of the Pacific Division, like in the top 3? No. But the Calgary Flames, I was like, this team's too talented. Dustin Wolf, everybody seems to love this guy. If you read comments from goalies around the league. My biggest surprise is probably Minnesota, man. Like, I don't think Minnesota's being talked about enough because of what Winnipeg's doing. But like Minnesota's right there. Like they're like a couple points back? I'd have to double check that. But I think Minnesota is one of those teams that you could tell me that they would be in the playoffs. You could tell me that they would miss the playoffs. And I would see both sides of that coin. I didn't think that they were deep enough. I thought Frederick Gustafsson, one of the sole reasons why their coach got fired last year, he's been unbelievable. I just didn't expect them to be as dominant as they have been. Just double checking what I was saying before. They're 4 points back of the Jets for first in the Central, and they're 6 points up on Dallas for who's at third in the Central. So Minnesota to me is one where if the Jets weren't doing what they're doing, we'd be talking about the Wild more.
Yeah, I agree. Like Gustafsson has been lights out for them. And Fleury just keeps defying father time and getting it done. But yeah, I mean, they didn't make any when you said about Washington, like they brought in Logan Thompson, they brought in Chikrin, they brought in PLD, right? Sandin's now there, he's been there for a while. Like, so they made changes to a playoff team. Minnesota is essentially the same sort of team. Now, Faber I love Brock Faber. He's one of my favorite D-men out there, especially for DFS. He's got another year under them. So he's progressed. Matt Boldy, another one. I'm a big fan of his.
Unreal. Me too.
They play good, tough hockey. 14-4, I would have been surprised by that. But being in the mix, playoffs, etc., not totally surprised by that. But 14-4 and near the top of the NHL, like you said, if it was for the Jets, Minnesota would be essentially up right there, right? Which I mean they are anyway. But yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And it's funny to go back to what you just said about Washington. That was one of my things with Washington where I didn't think that they were going to be bad, and I thought that they could compete for a playoff spot, not do what they're doing now. They're third in the Metro, so they're not, but they're pretty comfortably in a playoff spot right now, and I don't think that's going to change. And one of the big things for me was, like, Logan Thompson has been a really good backup goaltender in the league for quite some time now, and you bring Logan Thompson in, and you have Charlie Lindgren, who famously had the one vote trophy last year. It's like, you have these two goalies. I mean, you're not going to be that bad. Like, these two goalies are good goaltenders, and they're going to keep you in the mix. So that's really interesting stuff to start off the show. All right, let's dive right into it. We got 14 games in the NHL tonight. Just to let everybody know, Sean, you see his there. He is the king of hockey DFS at Rotoballers. Check out his stuff. Always good stuff. And if DFS is your thing, then this is your guy, your go-to guy when it comes to anything DFS in the National Hockey League. All right, let's just get right to it. The New York Rangers are in Philadelphia. New York Rangers are another one of those teams we could talk about for an hour. Pretty good record. They're starting to slip a little bit. If you're not, I was talking to Andre about this on the show recently, where a couple weeks ago they were 9-4-1, and if you listened or read to anything from the beat writers in New York, you would think that the sky was falling. But being out here away from the city, you're looking at them and their record, you're like, everything's fine in New York. Well, sure enough, the beat writers were onto something, because something smells in New York City. But still, they're minus 146 favorites in Philadelphia. The Flyers are plus 122 at home. Minus 1.5 on the puck line for the Rangers is plus 168. Plus 1.5 for the Flyers is minus 210. The over is 6.5 at plus 104. And the under is minus 128. Sean, we'll throw it to you, man. Rangers, Flyers in Philly in an hour or 40 minutes, I guess, from now. What do you see?
Yeah. I mean, the Rangers, right? The hockey, it's the sky's always falling, right? You lose. I mean, the thing for the Rangers is when they lost. I mean, they got some really bad losses on their dockets this year, right? They got pumped by St. Louis. They got pumped by Edmonton. I mean, Buffalo hung the 6-1 on them, right? Like, when they've been bad, when they are bad, they're very bad. Like, they're extremely bad. Like, their defense at 5-on-5 has been at times Montreal Canadian level, but it's the Jekyll and Hyde, right? I mean, it's still the Rangers, right? I mean, they got a very good team. The usual suspects are always there. Panarin is always seems to get it done. And his line with Trocheck and Lafreniere has been their best line by far. And they tried to do what they've been trying to do with Dallas, same thing on the top line, right? Trying to get Zibanejad and Kreider going. So, they try Panarin up there. They try Laff up there. They got to leave that line alone, because that's the line I like to bet for purposes, for points, because they usually are good for a point or two a game, right? Philly side, I like Tippett for today for shots. I like Tippett over on his shots. Rangers are giving up a ton of shots. That was one play that stood out to me when I had a look earlier from that game.
Yeah, I as far as Owen Tippett, I frequently like his shot. What's his total for DFS?
His total.
Owen Tippett, you said it's 3.5 in the sports books.
Yeah, so I mean, for DFS purposes, that the main slates for DFS today is starting at 3. So the first 2 games they have it, so they're all.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, so FanDuel has an all day, right? As they always do. FanDuel always rocks an all day slate. So that game is on there. DraftKings does not have that game on there.
Cool. Yeah.
They start their main slate with the 3:00 games. But in the 2:00 window, or the 1:00 window, so many different start times here.
I know.
The 1:00 window or the 2-game slate, I would definitely be looking towards Tippett for sure. I mean, it's Shesterkin is Shesterkin, right? Like he's one of the best goalies in the league. But same thing with him this year. When he's been bad, he's given up 4 or 5, right?
Yeah,
so I mean, now we're the day after Thanksgiving. It's an early start. Who's showing up here?
The big problem with Shesterkin. So I'll just throw this out on FanDuel. Over 3.5 shots for Tippett from a betting perspective is plus 136, and I love that. I'm all over on Tippett. It's one of my favorite players to watch. I love that you brought up FanDuel does one thing and DraftKings does the other, because that's a frequent debate on this show. My partner in crime, Andre, loves DK, and I use FanDuel. So we're always chatting about which one's better or whatever. But so that's a fun conversation. As far as this game goes, man, I have a real hard time with it because Philly is Philly, and you always feel like they're good enough. They're okay, but they're not that great. And you have your kind of preconceptions about the Flyers. In the last 10 games, they're 6-2-2. They're winning games right now. And the Rangers are 4-6 in their last 10 games. And I thought, this is kind of a different conversation, but that game that the Flyers played against the Predators the other day, they're losing 2-1, 11 seconds left. They tie it up. They end up taking home the 2 points in overtime. Now, was that because the Flyers are this determined team that's just going to scratch and claw, or is it because the Predators continue to be a disaster? I think it's a little bit of A, a little bit of B. But what I'm seeing right now, I think from a betting purpose, minus 146 is a bit too expensive for me to bet the Rangers, and I don't really trust the minus 1.5. Like for the Rangers to win by 2 goals, I can't really trust that right now. I kind of hate to say it. It doesn't feel right, but if I'm going to go based on the way these two teams are playing right now, I feel like the Flyers at plus 122. This feels like the move.
Yeah, it's the problem. The problem with the Flyers is, it first has been their goaltending, right? Like it's just, it's the same. It's who do we got and who have they got? Have they declared a starter yet for them? Ivan Fedotov.
I'm hearing Fedotov. I'm hearing Fedotov. I don't know. I think Fedotov.
He's not been good. Every Urson getting hurt has not. It's just not been good. Him and Kozlov is the other guy. That's a tough one, right? Because it's who's showing up. Torts, he'll throw his lines into a blender. The Rangers, they're just such a crapshoot, right? It's 146 and 1.5. No, 0 chance. I would bet that for the Rangers. They shouldn't be. They shouldn't be getting 2 goals against anybody at this point. They've lost. What have the Rangers? What have they got? What have they lost? How many in a row? They lost 4 in a row, something like that.
I know they're 4-6 in their last 10. I'll check.
I think they've lost.
They're on a 4-game losing streak.
Lost 4 in a row, and they've given up 3, 6, 5, and 4. That's a tough one, right? Philly's sitting at home. It's early. Weird stuff's going to happen in this game. It's going to be a weird game. I guarantee it's going to be weird. I could see 6-5 or 2-1 in a shootout, right?
I know. Well, I'm staying away from the total in this game, and that's the thing too with the Rangers, man. Is Shesterkin is one of the best goaltenders. This is another conversation we'd love to have on here. Andre is a Rangers fan, so we have this conversation often. I think Connor Hellebuyck is the best goaltender in the league. That's my opinion. If you say Shesterkin, that's absolutely fine. The one thing that Shesterkin hasn't done that Hellebuyck has done this year is steal games. I'm sure there's a couple at the beginning of the year, but the Rangers defensively have been such a mess. So many high-quality chances right now that Shesterkin just can't – he's just not bailing his team out right now. And you're seeing it kind of night after night. And so for me, like even that game against Carolina, man, like you were in that game, you had the lead at multiple points, and you just couldn't get the save to take you over the hump. Now, it's not all on Shesterkin by any means. Like I said, the defensive play for the Rangers has been a mess. But he just hasn't been that next level that you need from him right now to kind of steal games.
Yeah, no, he's been getting bombarded. I mean, they're giving him almost on the road. They're giving up almost 10 high danger shots a game, right? Like almost 10. Like that's Anaheim and San Jose level. Like that's brutal. Yeah. In actual fact, Jonathan Quick's road stats are actually better than Shesterkin. Funny enough. Now, that's not saying anything about Quick being a better goalie than Shesterkin. And so Shesterkin is not being Shesterkin's love. We're always used to up Shesterkin up here, being elite all the time. He's just going through a stretch right now, and part of the problem is he's, like you mentioned, is getting zero help from defense. None, like almost 10 high danger shots a game. To put that in comparison, like the Jets and the elite teams are around 4 or 5. Yeah. So he's facing twice as many as Hellebuck every game, right? Like that's eventually. I mean, that's Gibson and Dostal like levels. That's what those guys are you facing every game, right? Yeah. Shesterkin's not used to facing that, so. I mean, yeah, you know, when he's not elite, that's when you see him. He gives up 4 or 5 because it's just wave after wave. Yeah. Now, can Philadelphia generate enough of that today? I don't know.
Well, that's the other thing too, is you're not dealing with an extremely potent offense. I'm just curious to see. The one thing, like you're right, I do lean Philly in this game. I don't really like the total, like over 6.5 or under, just because of what you said. Like, this could be a 6-5 shootout. This could be a 6-3 Rangers win. This could be a 2-1 Flyers win in overtime. Like, this game stinks in many different directions for me as far as the total goes. I am leaning Philly, but the one thing that you did mention is Fedotov, or well, however you want to pronounce that name. That's the one concerning thing. It's the same thing with me, and we're going to talk about this later in the show as well, is the same thing for me with Fedotov is when Shelovs is in net for Vancouver. Like, I like Vancouver to win most nights. I know that they're going through, you know, Miller's been out and Besser's been out, and they've been going through some things. But if Shelovs is not in net, and I like Vancouver, but when Shelovs is in net, all bets are off, and like literally all bets are off, and I have no idea what's about to happen. And that's the same thing that I feel like for Fedotov. I mean, so that's kind of the same deal for him. I'm just pulling up his numbers real quick. 3-4-1, 369 goals against, 874 save percentage. And it's like against the Rangers, when the Rangers are right, now the problem is the Rangers aren't really scoring right now, but when the Rangers are right, they should be able to get at Fedotov, and, you know, pretty often, but they're just a hard team to trust right now.
Yeah, it's one of those. Yeah, I mean, Fedotov on home ice is actually, like, his goals against. He's made 3 starts on home ice, and his goals against is 277. Save percentage is actually 916 on home ice. I mean, for DFS, yeah. I'm a big home and away splits guy for DFS for line matching and stuff. So I look at all this stuff all the time. But just so Philadelphia not considered a defensive juggernaut. So Shesterkin's facing almost 10 high danger shots a game. Fedotov's only facing 5. Wow. Just to put it into perspective how bad the Rangers are defensively, Philly is giving up half of what the Rangers are. But the problem is the Philly goalies are not making the saves, right? Fedotov, his save percentage is just above 800 for the high danger shots, right? Where, like, that's all the elite goalies. Elite goalies are usually up around 9 or above. Anybody who's 8 or under, I look to attack that for goal scoring, for other stuff like that. But yeah, like the Panarin, I'm assuming we should have, we should have lines right now. I'm assuming. Let me just bring this up here. That Panarin. Let's see if the Panarin line is intact. I would hope if it's the Panarin and Trocheck and Laugh. Let's see, what do we got here? Yeah, so so the Rangers' top line today is Zibanejad, Kyle, and Berard. Wow. Like that's yeah. And then we got Trocheck, Lapp, and Panarin. Wow. Frost. You know what? Kind of like it. These Rangers lines look not good.
No.
Kakko, Smith, and Edstrom on the third, and so Kreider's still out. Trouba's back. That top line for the Rangers is all kinds of ugly. I mean, Berard scored last game.
Do we know what's happening with Kreider right now? Is he just out because of the drama? Like, I haven't really seen anything definitive on why he's out.
So it came out that apparently the Rangers are shopping Kreider and Trouba.
Yeah.
But no big secret, obviously, coming out of New York. I wondered if that was the case too. Like Kreider being kept out because a trade's imminent. I don't know, or he's just being benched. I'm not sure on that. But that line, I mean, the Rangers line is kind of ugly. Like the Panarin. So Panarin, if the Rangers win, so I'm telling you right now, if the Rangers win today, it'll be because of Panarin, Trocheck, and Lapp. They will have to score 2 or 3 at least for them to win this game. I mean, the Philly keeping their lines, right? Like we got Couturier, Konechny, Farabee, Frost, Michkov, and Tippett. Kate's so Andre's back for Philly too on defense. I like that. That kid's gonna be good. Yeah, you know what? I'm liking Philly a little. I mean, if Fedotov can make a save, Philly, I can see Philly win this game, or they should win this game. Unless Panarin does Panarin things and just goes absolutely nuclear, which he has done before and is possible. For DFS purposes, if you're playing that 2-game early slate, I would play the Panarin line for sure. I mean, you could bring back Tippett and then go from there. Yeah. And then load up on Minnesota at home against Chicago.
Absolutely love it. Well, that's a great segue, and let's move on to that game. Minnesota Wild home against the Chicago Blackhawks. I gotta say, man, Chicago against Dallas the other night, and Dallas has been letting some weird ones get away, so I don't know, but that game was absolutely insane, man. Like, when Chicago was up, I think they were up like 1 or 2. I was like, this is a great live spot to bet Dallas. They're underdogs all of a sudden. They're down 2-0 against Chicago. They can come back against Chicago. That game got out of hand in a hurry, and it didn't change it whatsoever. They are plus 202 on the road in Minnesota. Minnesota minus 250 at home. Minus 1.5 for the Wild is plus 106. Plus 1.5 for the Blackhawks is minus 130. The over is 5.5 at minus 118. And the under is minus 104. What do you got? Chicago, Minnesota.
So just quick on the Dallas game. So the sort of the running joke in Rotoballer and DFS for anybody who's known me for a few years is I cannot pick a goalie. Like if I pick a goalie, like it's to the point now where guys actually message me and say, Sean, who is your goalie tonight? Purposely to avoid using that goalie. Not only that, then stacking the other team. I had Casey DeSmith in DFS against Chicago the other night. First shot of the game, Taylor Hall scores it, right? My phone blows up, and I'm like, here we go. Yep, Casey DeSmith. I'm like, that's Chicago. Chicago, who I don't think has scored 4 goals in a game at home all year, scores 6. But that's yeah.
Well, and like Bedard scores his first goal in like almost a month. Like
So the running joke is that I wrote a baller is Sean, who's Sean like for a goalie? And the funny thing about that is the article I wrote that day, I had Peter Mrazek as my goalie. Did I use him? No.
Of course not. I know.
No. But anyways.
It's so funny to say that, dude, because like for me on this show, like we talk about every single game. So all the bets that I'm throwing out here, like I am not betting on every single thing that I say. My wife would have me out of the house in a hurry if I bet on every single thing that I say on this show. But a lot of times I'll throw out 5, 6, 7 goal scoring props, and I'll only actually physically bet one of them, and they end up being the only one that doesn't score. So that happens on the show for me all the time. Shout out to our guy Andre. He is chiming in. Sean is way better than your normal partner. Other guy would have picked the Rangers for some reason. What a dope. Andre, happy Thanksgiving, bro. Hope you're soaking it up. We're happy to have Sean on, and you just put your feet up, bro, and we'll see you next week. All right, Sean, what do you got, bro?
Thank God that's Andre, because I saw the comment and I'm like, oh damn.
Yeah, that's Andre. Yeah, that's Andre. Ooh.
Thank God, because I was like, I started to feel bad. I'm like, uh-oh.
I'm surprised he still has Daniel Jones as his profile picture. I'm surprised that's still going there.
Yeah. Well, when Daniel Jones ends up on another team and leads them to the playoffs, Giants fans can just be like, see, there you go.
Yeah, here we go again. By the way, speaking of Chicago, Eberflus out as head coach. That's breaking in the last half an hour.
I'm surprised it took that long.
I know.
And then his press conference, I would have given him all the respect in the world if he just came out and said, yeah, you know what? I'm a dumbass.
Of course. Of course.
Caleb Williams has zero spatial awareness. Like, remember, did you see it against Minnesota in overtime last week? He ran around for 30 seconds and took a sack. Dude, throw the ball away. Throw the ball away.
I know. That's all we want is just to come out and just say, like you and I, we're Maple Leaf fans. Like, how long has it been? We have this hard time with the way the Leaf players talk about after games, like John Tavares specifically, just saying, John Tavares specifically, just we're learning lessons and we're doing this. It's like, just tell me that you sucked. Like, I watched the game myself. My big thing is why does Matt Eberflus, he gets fired, but Doug Peterson somehow still has a job in Jacksonville. I'm not sure what's going on, but before we digress too fully, yeah, your audio cut off, by the way, brother. Yeah, I don't got you on audio. I don't know if you muted or what the deal is there, but no, sir. It's all right. It's all right. Well, you figure that out. I'll just share what I think about Chicago, Minnesota, and then you can get that figured out and straightened up. For me, when it comes to the Chicago, Minnesota Wild, this is very straightforward for me. Chicago played an incredible game the other night, and Dallas just had an absolute stinker. And for me, Minnesota, we talked about it at the top of the show. They're just one of the best teams in the league at the moment, and they would be getting talked about much, much more if it wasn't for what Winnipeg is doing in the same division. And for me, like Kaprizov, he's back, he's healthy. Thank the Lord that he did not suffer a long-term injury. That's the one thing with Kaprizov, man, is that his health has just always been a topic of concern. And he's back, he's doing his thing. High marks right now, running for the MVP. I know it's only November, but for him to be in the MVP conversation is absolutely huge for him. I've said this many times. One of the most underrated superstars in the NHL is Kirill Kaprizov, and he is finally starting to make a name for himself in the rest of the league, which is a beautiful thing. So for me, plain and simple, Minnesota, they're back home, had a tough loss against Winnipeg earlier in the week. Minnesota -1.5, +106. I am all over it. As far as props go, Kirill Kaprizov, anything him. I mean, he's +105 to score a goal tonight or this afternoon. He's a lot of the times is in the minuses as far as betting his goal scoring prop. +105 for him. Matt Boldy is +150. If we're talking shots, you gotta go quite high to get some value on Kirill Kaprizov. 5+ shots is +162. Anything less than that, like 4+ shots, is -138. So for Kirill Kaprizov, you got to kind of go up the ladder there to get some value. But I'm here for it. And I think I was looking at the goalie props because I and they're not fully listed here on FanDuel yet, but I love Gustafson. I love seeing what he's been doing. Let's see. According to Daily Faceoff, he is the unconfirmed starter against Peter Mrazek tonight. But I do like the Minnesota Wild at -1.5 against Chicago. No, sir. It's all good, bro. I can give you a minute and all right. Just sending our guy Sean a message here, and we'll see if we can get this all sorted out. It's all good. We'll keep moving on, and if he's got anything to add when he sorts that out, then we will go back to him. Because like I said, this guy's the go-to guy when it comes to DFS for Rotorballers, and I want to know what he has to say. Moving on to the Florida Panthers, Carolina Hurricanes. Is your 307 start. All these games, by the way, Rangers, Flyers at 110, Chicago, Minnesota is 210, and Florida Hurricanes is at 307. So if you want to bet on the Rangers and Flyers, now is the time to do so. That game starts in about 15 minutes. Moving on to Florida, Carolina. Carolina -156 at home. Florida +130 on the road. Florida +130 on the road. +1.5 for Florida is -194. -1.5 for Carolina is +156. The over is 5.5 at -124. The under is +102. This is a weird one for me because, Florida lost 6 of their last 7 games before beating the Leafs 5-1 the other night. For me, you're playing a Toronto Maple Leafs team that they're literally missing half of their forwards, and that's not an exaggeration. Like quite literally, the Leafs were missing half of their forwards. And I didn't think Florida really played that convincingly the other game. I thought that they took advantage of their chances and they got the job done. Do I got you?
Hopefully, maybe.
I got you. You sound beautiful.
Yeah, I had to go to my son's gaming headset. I don't know what happened there. Technical error. Technical difficulties.
Dude, it happens. Trust me. I don't know if it's my computer's old or if I'm just an idiot or what it is, but if I have multiple browsers on, my camera won't work. So I have to. So that happens to me.
Maybe that's what happened.
Yeah, that's what happens to me sometimes too. But so we are starting the Florida Carolina game. But quickly, is there one play from Chicago, Minnesota? We just started talking about Carolina, so we can come back to it. Is there one play from the Minnesota Chicago game that you love?
Let me see here. I think it's the usual suspects, right? Like, yeah, Kaprizov's shots. Can he get 5? Yeah. Chicago hasn't been horribly defensively, so
no.
Kaprizov's. I would go Boldy. I lean Boldy for an anytime goal. Eriksson Ek for an assist, that kind of scenario. Brock Faber for a point, that kind of thing. Yeah, I would probably. Yeah, Kaprizov. He's hit 5 shots only once in his last 7. Yeah. I love Kaprizov. Like he's the beast, and Minnesota's rolling. But I would bet them for a point. I would bet him for. I would bet Kaprizov for a goal before I bet him probably for his shots.
Yeah, I said this while you were figuring it out that I'm just so happy that Kaprizov is finally getting some recognition around the league. Like I just feel like for years he's been so like underrated, and I don't know if it's because it's Minnesota. I don't know if it's because they haven't been a bad team, but they haven't been a very good team either. And I don't know if that's why, but he's been one of the most underrated superstars in this league for a few years now. And I'm really glad to see that he's starting to get a lot more chatter around the league. Like we said, Florida Panthers, I'll lay it out again real quickly. Florida Panthers, they were plus 128 when I punched this in about 45 minutes ago. They are now plus 132. Some Carolina money coming in. Carolina was minus 154. They are now minus 160. Plus 1.5 for the Panthers is minus 194. Minus 1.5 for Carolina is plus 156. The over is 5.5 at minus 128, and the under is plus 104. It's interesting to me the total here, that the total is like usually a total is around 6.5, and for 5.5 to be the total for two teams that have been scoring like they have been, and quite frankly, I know that that Bobrovsky had a good night against the Leafs the other night, but the goaltending for Florida hasn't really been that strong, and Carolina doesn't really have a starter right now. So for the total to be 5.5, I mean, it is minus money. But for the total to only be 5.5 is interesting to me. I was just saying, Sean, that, you know, Florida, they haven't really been playing well. Like before they played Toronto, they had lost 6 of their last 7 games. And I know they beat the Leafs 5-1. I didn't feel like 5-1 was really indicative of how the game went. I thought it was a lot closer than that. Toronto, and listen, I'm a Maple Leaf fan. I don't have any, I'm very open about that, but I'm also very harsh on this team. Like I feel like a lot of people in Toronto media are. I'm not one to give Toronto excuses. I'm not one to cut them any slack. That being said, Florida Panthers, they go into that game at home against Toronto the other night. They lost 6 of their last 7 games. Toronto is quite literally missing half of their forwards. Like half of their forwards are from the Toronto Marlies right now, and that's not an exaggeration. That's legit. Like half of their forward roster is in the hospital right now. So for Florida Panthers to come out to win that game, I'm not overly impressed by any means. So Carolina, very heavy favorites at home today. What are you seeing between the Panthers and the Hurricanes at 3:07 Eastern time?
As also a fellow Leaf fan, I mean, honestly, were you surprised by the result of that game? Really?
Not really.
I mean, I you knew Florida was going to get up for that. There, and like you said, I mean, Alex Nylander. It's a cool story. He won't be anywhere near this team once they're healthy on forward. He'll be back in the Marlies. He won't be anywhere near. I mean, they're playing. Half their forwards are gone. Kind of interesting how Dallas and Florida came back from Finland, and both teams seem to have been an absolute disaster. I wonder what happened. Yeah, what happened in Finland? Like they must have had a good time.
Yeah.
So that stood out to me too about the total because I don't know. Spencer Martin is not good. No. Like Spencer Martin, his save percentage on home, 3 starts at home, his save percentage is .854. His high definition. I'm not going to stop saying that. High danger save percentage is only 800. Like Florida, I mean, one thing Florida does is they get to the front of that net, they crash and they bang. This seems like an easy over to me. Like I don't see a 2-1 game here. I see a 5-4 game here. Like I see a shootout coming in that game. Like Bob has not been good either. Like Bob's been like, yeah, no, I can see a shootout happening in this game. I can see a 5-4, 6-5 maybe before I see a 2-1 or a 3-2.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. I just double checking here according to dailyfaceoff.com. Where is it? Yeah, Sergei Bobrovsky and Spencer Martin are unconfirmed on Daily Faceoff. I haven't checked the betting outlets if any goalie props are out or anything like that yet. Does DFS have both those
left wing
guys
lock
listed?
has them confirmed.
Okay.
Bob and
Okay.
Spencer Martin on left wing lock are confirmed.
Okay. So
Thompson's confirmed for Washington. Mrazek's confirmed for Blackhawks. That's about it at this. Elvis is in net for Columbus. That's confirmed. Vanasek. I mean, we'll get to those games later, but
yeah.
But yeah, Martin and Bob are confirmed on left wing lock.
And it's interesting for me because, you know, and I mean, listen, bro, you and me in Leafland, we've heard these conversations, and I'm sure had them like ourselves many times. When you have a backup goaltender, and Spencer Martin's not even a backup goaltender, he's the backup to the backup. The rest of your team really has to show up and play out. And in Toronto, I mean, this year's been good, but other years we've seen the Maple Leafs like leave their unsuspecting goaltenders out to dry many times. I'll tell you what, man, that win against Dallas the other night was super impressive for me from the Carolina Hurricanes perspective. Like you're losing 3-1 going into the third period. You haven't really been that good. Dallas, I don't want to say Dallas was dominating that game, but Dallas was certainly controlling play for most of that game. And all of a sudden, Carolina flipped the switch on. Not only do they win that game, but they cover the -1.5. They win 6-4. And Spencer Martin, it's, you know, ho-hum, here's a win. That game against the Rangers the other night, that game was the Rangers game. The Rangers had that game. It was in their hands, and Carolina flipped the switch, came on, and won the game. I was talking at the beginning of the show how I'm very proud of my Calgary Flames analysis back in September. I didn't think they'd be that bad. Well, I thought that Carolina was going to miss the playoffs. So for every good take, there's a bad take right next to it. Carolina, to me, they're just the much better team. They're outscoring their deficiencies right now. Their goaltending is very lacking. Their defense has been okay, but they're making up for it with their offense. Can they do it against the Panthers? I don't like the -154 as far as value in betting a Carolina win. But I'm kind of leaning towards Carolina winning by 2 goals here. Plus 156 for Carolina to win -1.5. I'm kind of leaning that way just because of how these two teams, they've been kind of going in opposite directions as far as how they've been playing.
Yeah, I don't know how much stock we can put into Florida's win against Toronto just for what we covered about, you know, the fact that half of Toronto's forward core was not playing, and McMahon even left that game I think early in the second too as well.
Yeah, that's right.
Carolina, Rod Brindamore, I'm telling you right now, he's up year after year. It's one of the best coaches. Carolina comes at you in waves. They roll 4 lines and they're relentless. This Dallas game, I wasn't even really that surprised. It was just like, okay, like you said, flip the switch, and they just keep coming at you, right? It's just wave, and they roll, and that's the beauty about them is they roll. He will roll 4 lines consistently and not worry about it. Bang,
Yeah.
it's just line after line, and they're just coming at you, and they play hard. I mean, Spencer Martin. How long? I mean, Carolina and Colorado have got to be the top 2 teams right now looking for goaltending. Because how can you, as a Carolina GM or the front office, trust Freddie or I'm not even trying to say his last name, Piotr.
Yeah, Kochetkov.
Yeah, Kachek, whatever. How would you like? I wouldn't. If Carolina gets them a goalie right now, Anaheim should be sitting there and going. Every time John Gibson stands on his head, they should be getting calls nonstop. I mean, I understand, you know, the cap and trying to fit it all in, but like Carolina and Colorado should be the top 2 teams right now looking for goaltending help, right? Anywhere they can
100%.
find it, because I mean, Spencer Martin is not it, right? Freddie, God bless. I love Freddie in Toronto. I love Freddie.
Yeah, me too.
You can't trust him. But I mean, for this game here, like I don't, like I said, I don't know how much I can trust Florida against that result against Toronto. Like now, we might look back in this a week and a half from now, after Florida's won 4 in a row, and be like, oh, the Toronto game, they okay, they figured it out. They're back, right? They got over their little malaise from the Finland trip, but
Yeah.
I lean over here. I think in this game, I would bet the over in this game.
Yeah.
But Carolina by 2. I mean, I mean, are they favored by a goal and a half, or is it?
Yeah.
They are
So
favored by a goal and a half. Plus
yeah, they're
156.
favored in the game, and then the -1.5 goes to them, plus 156.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's not the safest bet out there. There's a reason why the odds are the way they are. I just think if I'm thinking of offensive power here, I trust what Carolina's doing more than trust Florida. And that game against Toronto, man, like we mentioned about the injuries or whatever, but Florida always gets up for these games at home because Toronto takes over that stadium. Like, their fans just take it over. And that, you know what I mean? But and it's interesting what you say. This is a different conversation, but the John Gibson out of Anaheim conversation is just, you can set your watch to it, man. It happens around this time every single year, and he doesn't want to leave. And I don't really understand why. I mean, if you're specifically talking about like way of life, like the guy lives in California, gets to wear shorts to the rink. His team, I actually like the Anaheim team. I'm not saying they're going to be like cup contenders or anything like that, but they got a lot of good young talent, and I actually like watching them play. I think the goaltending situation's really good for Anaheim right now. Like, they kind of sneaky team. Like, you can't just show up to Anaheim and win anymore. Like, you really got to put forth an effort against that team now. But yeah, this John Gibson conversation, he doesn't want to go anywhere. It's super, super fascinating, but I'm right there with you. All right, moving on to the New Jersey Devils and the Detroit Red Wings. -194 are the Devils on the road. As far as a road favorite, -194 is pretty insane. Usually if we see a road favorite where you're looking at, you know, -120, -130, maybe in the 40s. But to see almost a -200 favorite on the road kind of tells you all you need to know about what Vegas thinks about the Detroit Red Wings. Red Wings +160 at home. -1.5 for the Devils is +128. +1.5 for the Red Wings, -158. The over is 6.5 at +112. And the under is -138. Sean, what do you got here, bro? Devils, Red Wings later this afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, that's. I mean, the Devils have been playing well, but I mean, Detroit. I mean, they can't score. Like, they just can't score, right? Like, I mean, what is it? 3 of their last 4, they've only scored once or twice. They've scored 2 goals. They're losing 2-1. Like, the New Jersey, I mean, they got a lot of firepower on that team. Funny enough, Markstrom on the road, though, like, Markstrom hasn't been fantastic for the Devils. He's had some games where, you know, you kind of question the whole free agent signing thing there. And Cam Talbot has been very good for the Wings this year. Very good. Like, he's played very well.
Yeah, he
Funny
has.
is, so he got me the win against Calgary the other night for DFS purposes. So I can pick a goalie every once in a while. I guess, right? Of course, he lost me the shutout with about 3 minutes left to go in that game, but I digress on that. But I mean, I get why the Devils are a favorite, but I don't know. Like, I don't know if they should be that big. Like, Cam Talbot in 8 starts at home has been absolutely elite. Like, he's .966 save percentage, a 1.03 goals against average. His high definition. I'm not going to stop saying this. His high danger. I'm not going to. I'm going to get a lot.
Well, I mean, let's put it this way, bro. If you have a high danger chance coming in on you, you're seeing it in high definition. Like, it's right there in front of you. You know what I mean? That's fair. I get it.
Talbot's been one of the best goalies in the league. He's got a .967 save percentage on the high danger shots. Like, he's been elite. Now, if we find out that Husso or Alex Lyon, I think Lyon's still hurt, right? Alex Lyon. I don't like, there would be no reason why they shouldn't start Talbot. Have they confirmed that yet? Cam Talbot projected. Nothing yet. Now, if anybody other than Cam Talbot starts, load up on the Devils and everything.
Yeah, I agree.
Bet everything. Goals, points, shots, bet it all. But Cam Talbot, like I could see a 3-2 game here with Talbot starting.
Yeah.
Right? Like something like that. Like,
well, that's the direction
honestly,
that's the direction I'm going, man. Is like, to
plus
me,
160 at home for Detroit.
Yeah, like, I don't like betting Detroit to win. Let's just get that out of the way.
Not at all.
But what you're saying about the goaltending battle, I'm 100% with you, man. Like you're talking about against high danger chances. You're talking about at home, even just in general. Like, when I look at Cam Talbot's stat line, just looking at the stats, and to be quite honest with you, I watch, just like you, we watch all these games every night. We watch all these teams. Detroit is one of the most uninteresting teams to me this year, which is the complete opposite of last year, right? You knew whether win or lose, you knew they were going to be like 8 goals every time Detroit played. Either they're scoring 6 or they're giving up 6. This year, I find them to be very dull. But Cam Talbot's stat line, 6-4-2, 247 goals against, 923 save percentage. Those are really good numbers when you look at the goals against and the save percentage. Now, what the record tells you, 6-4-2, Detroit can't score right now. They can't. They're winning all these games 6 or 2-1, 3 to whatever it is. I believe, because if I'm not mistaken, I know they won the other game 2-1 against Calgary, right?
Yep.
And then they beat the Islanders 2-1 as well, right? Or did they lose that one 2-1?
So actually, they beat the Islanders 4-2. Funny enough.
Oh, 4-2. Okay, my mistake. Yeah.
You know why they scored 4 goals in that game? Because I played Sorokin. That's why they scored 4 goals. I have that ability. If you need an over in a game, let me know and I'll start the goalie for you.
That's so funny. Well, in this specific, and I know, like, listen, the Devils, they're 9th overall in goals per game, and they're 5th overall in goals against per game. No matter who is in net right now. Bobby Brink, by the way, Philadelphia wastes no time at all, and they're up 1-0. So if you listen to us and bet Philly, you're looking okay so far to start the game. That's tough for Igor, man. But anyway.
Not surprised. I'm not surprised.
No, that's tough. But so for me, my favorite bet in this game, I don't really like the -1.5, just because, like, of what you said, like, in favor of the Devils. Because of what you said, I think that Cam Talbot's played really well this year, and I don't really trust the -1.5 for the Devils. But at the same time, the under is my favorite play here. Under 6.5, -138. Whoever wins this game, I can see it being 3-2, 4-2 maybe. But the under 6.5, -138, I think that's my favorite play in this game. I used to pump DeBrincat's tires every single day on this show, and I can't do it anymore. So I'm not even touching props or nothing. The Devils, I mean, you like follow this much closer than I do playing DFS. Like, the Devils, it's hard to pick props with New Jersey because they're getting it from almost everybody right now. And so for me, I'll stick to the under 6.5, and we'll leave it at that.
I wonder do you think Vegas knows do you think Vegas knows that maybe Talbot's not starting today? Like, yeah, Vegas always seems to know. Like that -1, whatever, almost -200, almost like that screams to me that maybe Husso or Lyon is starting for Detroit.
That's a really good point by you.
Like, I wonder, like, if, oh my God, like, so I like Hughes and Bratt for DFS today, just because they're gonna they will shoot a ton. If we get word that anybody other than Cam Talbot starting for Detroit, oh wow. And I wonder if Vegas knows. Like, like you said, -190, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Like Detroit's defensively has played very well. Like, they're very, like you said, they either win or lose 2-1.
Yeah.
Except for when I play a goalie against them and then they win 4-2. I'm not bitter about that at all, by the way.
Yeah. No, Yeah, that's a really good point.
It'll be interesting to see that if we get word that Huso, who can't stop a beach ball, if he finds out he's in net or Lyon comes back, oh wow, go time.
Yeah, so maybe wait. I mean, that game starts in 2 hours, so you have a bit of time to wait on that. But if Talbot is in net, I'm definitely taking that under. Shout on another kind of Philly just scored again. Travis connecting 2-0.
Of course they did.
Dude,
You gotta figure like as crazy as it is, it's because it's New York. Like, is Lavely like at some point is he on the hot seat? Or well, you know what? I bet you, I could see Kreider or Trouba. They'll make a trade before they get rid of the. I mean, like you said, I mean, they're still 12. What are they? 12-6 and like they're not that bad. But it just seems like when they lose, it's bad. Like it's 6-1 bad. Like it's.
Yeah, it's. Do you know what, man? I don't even want to get into this conversation because how do I say this? The coaching carousel in the NHL drives me insane. I hate it so much. The coaches get fired. There are moments where you think, okay, I get it. Something has to change, blah, blah, blah. But like Drew Bannister the other day, dude, like I know that they wanted Jim Montgomery. I get it. But for him to get fired and he didn't even play a complete season, he literally only got fired because they wanted Jim Montgomery. Like there's just stuff like that happens in this league all the time. It drives me nuts. Should Peter Laviolette get fired? No. Will he? Probably. Like I
New York, right?
said this on the show last week. I heard this on the radio that Spencer Carberry, who is in his second season with the Washington Capitals, is the 14th longest tenured coach in the NHL. How? It's crazy to me.
Well, I mean, Drew Bannister. I joked about. I said I was talking to somebody while we were talking about Rotoballer and stuff and chat. I'm like, I bet you Montgomery isn't unemployed long. Now I didn't think it was gonna be that fast, but literally I'm like he's getting called. Like I literally said, there's teams right now considering firing a coach just to go get Montgomery, which is what St. Louis do, and then give him a 5-year deal. Like that's how bad they're like. Okay, yeah, sorry, Drew, you're out.
Yeah, I know, and then a 5-year deal, which to me. In the NHL, the fact that GMs are giving out 5-year deals, like that has to just be coaches saying, listen, I know you're going to fire me in 2.5 years, so I want a 5-year deal. Because you know what I mean? Just like to keep some money there. So yeah, I like the under as far as Detroit and the Devils. We'll see what happens in goaltending. And you like Hughes and Pratt when it comes to props and DFS. Moving on. You got one more thing to add?
No, just saying, just keep an eye on that game for who's starting. If we get word that Talbot's not starting, smash the over, smash the Devils, just everything Devils. If it's anybody other than Talbot, if Talbot gets confirmed, I might sprinkle the Red Wings on a little bit on the money line, and certainly the under, like you said.
Yeah, no, 100% with you. Moving on to Tampa Bay and Nashville. I honestly, man, I don't even know how much time to spend on this game or where to even go with this game. I know Tampa Bay, they've been hit or miss. They've been winning, they've been losing, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And Nashville, I just think we're at the point. I know that Nashville did it last year. I know that they went on that miraculous 18-game point streak where they were 16-0-2. I know all these things. I have the same concern about Nashville that I have about the Oilers. Now, the Oilers are, they're probably going to make the playoffs or whatever, but Nashville had to do this last year. And you're hearing people say, well, they did it last year. Why can't they do it again? Well, because this doesn't happen that often. Like to expect this team to go on another 18-game point streak, it turns out. Now, there were people who said, listen, they probably made too many changes in the offseason. Don't trust what you're seeing about Nashville. I wasn't one of those. I love Nashville coming into the season. I thought that with what they did last year, adding Stamkos, adding Marchessault, how could this go wrong? Well, it's gone very wrong. Nashville, the fact that they're minus 115 favorites at home is super curious to me. I don't fully understand it. Tampa Bay hasn't been that great either. Tampa Bay has been just okay, in my opinion. But still, they've been better than Nashville. I think that's not a hot take. I think it's pretty safe to say Tampa's been better than Nashville. But nevertheless, Nashville minus 115 at home. Tampa Bay plus 100 now. They were minus 104. Tampa Bay is now plus money on the road. Minus 1.5 for Nashville's plus 190. Plus 1.5 for Tampa's minus 240. Over 6.5 at minus 108. And the under is minus 112. What do you got?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on this one. I guess this is a weird game. Like Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is another one of those teams, right? Like they beat Colorado, like smash Colorado 8-2, smash them.
Mm-hmm.
And then they lose 5-4 to Washington after being up, I think it was 3-1, or I think they were up 3-1 in that game, or they were maybe up 4-1.
Yeah, they were up good.
Like they beat Columbus. I mean, that game last week again, that just absolute pond hockey game last week in Columbus where it was 7-6. I think it was it was 4-3 after the first, so they were like Tampa Bay almost seems like a team that's like, let's just get to the playoffs, right? Like just we'll do enough, we'll get in there, and then we'll go from there. Like Vasilevsky, I've never in DFS, Vasilevsky has been a guy that I've never really played because he always seems to give up 3 or 4 goals. And this is no different this year. I think Vegas literally, the odds tell me Vegas doesn't have a clue either. Like Vegas, like, all right, well,
right.
Tampa Bay getting 2, like Nashville getting 2 goals, like being favored by 2 goals. Like, really? I don't think that's happening. Like, I'll take Tampa Bay plus 2 all the time. I know it's minus 240, it's not whatever, but you're gonna give me 2 goals with Tampa Bay? Like, they could score 5 goals in this game and not break a sweat, right?
Yeah.
Now is Vasilevsky not, like I would assume Vasilevsky's going to start. Nobody played yesterday, so it's not a back-to-back. If they started Johansson, then I'd be all over the Preds. But like the Preds are, like you said, all the changes. The Preds are a bit of a mess. They're not looking good. So I know this is a tough one. Yeah, that's a tough one to read. For betting side, I would look to like goal props and shots, like Kucherov, Point, and Gensel. That's a dominant line. They'll get the Yossi treatment and the Ryan O'Reilly treatment all game, but that hasn't been like last year. Last year, that's been I would avoid Yossi and DFS. Like on home ice, I would avoid lines that used to go up against Yossi, but not so much anymore. So yeah, that's a tough one. Like that's, in the grand scheme of things, of the 14 games, would you force something here? I don't know.
Yeah, to me, this is one of those games where my inclination is to take Tampa on the plus money. If you're giving me plus money for Tampa, even though it's on the road against a Nashville team, which Nashville, like I don't have these stats right in front of me, but just based on memory. Like, not only have they been losing, but they've been blowing some pretty good leads, too. Like, that game against Philly the other night, like, that game was over. That game was done. They had no business going to overtime, let alone losing that game. And they found a way. Now, they had that really good win against the Jets on the weekend, and that was just a tough spot for the Jets. I believe it was a back-to-back. The game was they didn't really start the game well. The Jets began to kind of get their legs, but the Predators took advantage of a rough first period for Winnipeg. I don't believe that Hellebuck was in that game. They got their 2 points. They left. And they haven't won since. They've only played a couple games, but to me, this is a stay away. I lean Tampa with the plus money, But to me, I'm just going to leave, like you said, there's 15 games. This is one to just kind of leave alone, watch, enjoy it, and let it go by. The one thing that I will say is just for fun, you should only bet what you can afford. If you have a couple extra bucks in your sports book account, or if you're a degenerate like me, sports books, the Stamkos plus 195 to score against his old team, plus 195. Those are pretty long odds for him to score. Why not put it up there? He's at home now. All the emotions out of the way from his trip back to Tampa. Maybe Stamkos gets a goal at plus 195. But other than that, I think this is a stay away.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to the Islanders and the Washington Capitals. Shout out, by the way, everybody watching, whether if you're in the States enjoying your Thanksgiving, spending time with us, we appreciate you. Or whether it's 1:30 in the afternoon if you're watching in Canada, so maybe you're skipping work or you're in the bathroom or something. So we appreciate you watching in the afternoon on a Friday here. Washington minus 152. At home against the Islanders. Islanders plus 126. The minus 1.5 for Washington's plus 172. Plus 1.5 for the Islanders is minus 215. The over is 5.5 at minus 122. And the under is plus 100. This one short and sweet for me, man. I know we could go into the goaltending matchup. We could go into the goals and the props and the blah blah blah. For me, Washington minus 1.5 plus 172. I'm not scared of it. I think this Islanders team is one of the more fraudulent quote unquote playoff contenders. And they're not a Stanley Cup contender, but they're in a playoff mix. To me, the Islanders are frauds. The Islanders, this team, I just can't get behind it in any way. I think Washington, what you're seeing from Washington now is not fraudulent. I know they don't have OV. They're still winning. They're still scoring a bunch of goals. I don't need to get any more in depth than this. I think Washington wins this game by 2 goals at least, plus 172 for Washington to win. I'm here for it. The over is 5.5. The one reason why I like the over is because it's only 5.5. No matter who's in net for the Islanders, I think Washington's going to put up goals, and I like the 5.5. So I think Washington can clear this number by itself. I know the Islanders goaltending wise have actually been pretty good this year. They just can't score. But for me, it's Washington minus 1.5 all day. What about you? What do you got?
Yeah, another kind of ugly game. For me, it comes down to who starts for the Islanders. Varlamov has actually been much better on the road than Sorokin. Stat wise, it's not even Varlamov has been very good on the road. For me, for that, it comes down to that. If Sorokin gets a start, I like Washington regardless. Just because, as you said, the Islanders, there's nothing but scares me about that team. They got some nice pieces and stuff, but I don't know. They just there's no do for me. Washington, I think, has proven that they are legit for this year. I lean Washington on that. DFS purposes, I like Washington, the top line for Washington tonight. Strome, Protas, and Wilson's up there. John Carlson, they've been dominant on home ice and really haven't missed a beat, believe it or not, without Ovechkin. So I expect them, Washington scores 2 or 3. I expect that line to be the one that leads them to that today.
Absolutely love it. By the way, the people who tune into the show often know that my son is a big part of this show. He's awake. So if you're here, some craziness in the background, it's go time here in the Sauter household. It's full swing. Absolutely love it. Moving on to this game, Vancouver Buffalo. I first look at it, you kind of wave it off. But the more I kind of think about it, this is kind of an interesting game here. Buffalo's been playing pretty well as of late in the last couple of weeks, this is just the classic Detroit, Ottawa, Buffalo, just the rope-a-dope, right? They suck for 3 weeks. They're great for 3 weeks. They suck for 3 weeks. They're great for 3. This is just the classic what Buffalo, Detroit, Ottawa have done for the last 2 seasons, 3 seasons, 8 seasons. It's really frustrating. You want to buy into this Buffalo team, but too many scars. Vancouver is one of those teams that I said this at the top of the show. I don't know if I said this pre-show or if we were on air when I said this, but if Shelovs is in net, I'm betting the opposite team. And if Lekkonen's in net, I'm betting Vancouver. So that's kind of, I know it's not really that cut and dry, but that's what it's been for me all year long. Vancouver is -1. Vancouver is -115 on the road. Buffalo is -104 at home. -1.5 for Vancouver is +210. +1.5 for Buffalo is -265, which seems, I don't know, Vancouver to win by 2 goals at +210. That seems, I feel like it should be shorter odds than that. That's just me. The over is 5.5 at -122, and the under is +100. What do you got, Sean? Vancouver, Buffalo, in Buffalo at 3:11 p.m.
So I mean, I guaranteed it's going to be Lankinen because Silva started the last game and got lit up by Pittsburgh. So it's going to be Lankinen, you would think for sure. So Vancouver like the last game of the road. Well, actually, no, it's not the last game of the road trip. They're in the midst of an actual brutal road trip. Actually, this is their 4th and 6th nights. But after this, they still have 2 more games in Detroit and then in Minnesota to finish up. So kind of a tough road trip for them. So this is their 4th and 6th. I mean, they're dealing with some. I mean, Miller, like we were talking about it earlier. What do we got here for? Yeah, I mean, they're forward. The forward group's not. I mean, their top line of Pettersson, DeBrusk, and Sherwood have been playing well. Gets kind of a little sketchy after that. I mean, Dakota Joshua and P.S. Sutter on the second line. Teddy Bluger centering the third line. Like, it gets a little sketch for them there real quick. But yeah, I mean, Buffalo is, the classic Jekyll and Hyde. But Buffalo give a home team like two goals, like Vancouver favored by 2 goals. I don't know about that. Like I like Buffalo on this. I like Buffalo actually in this game on this side. I have Jack Quinn. I like Jack Quinn to actually score today. If you like some long shots, I wrote him up in my DFS article. He's my top value center on the slate. He's been moved to their 3rd line, which I think for him I think was a great move. Less pressure, better matchups. So his with Kulich and Zucker. Like Buffalo needs anything beyond their top line. That's the thing for Buffalo is they got Thompson, Peterka, and Tuck, and not much else so far this year in terms of scoring, which is their problem.
Yeah,
the big 3 get it done. I wouldn't be surprised if they had another big game today, but they need something else. Which is why I think Quinn ended up on the 3rd line because they're trying to find anything to complement Tage at all. So, like I said, I like Quinn for long shot goal today, anytime goal. But yeah, I mean, Lankinen, I assume like Silva started against Pittsburgh, got lit up. So I would expect Lankinen is in that, and then I would assume UPL will get the start for Buffalo.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Buffalo's been solid defensively. They don't give up a ton. Believe it or not, their D-core is pretty solid, pretty good. It's just the question for Buffalo is, can they get the goals? Because when they get the goals, then they're usually So they lost to Minnesota 1-0 on Wednesday night, right? So they played great, lost 1-0. But then the 3 games before that, they won 4-2, won 3-2. Actually beat LA 1-0 last week out on the road. But if they score three goals today, they should be good.
That 1-0 win by Minnesota against Buffalo killed my parlay. I can't remember what all my legs were, but they all hit, and the -1.5 for Minnesota was just, oh my goodness, that killed me. But you know what, man?
Like you can't get an empty net goal. You couldn't get an empty net goal.
I know, dude. I know. And then you know that when you bet like an under, you know that it's right there. You're clearing the under by half a goal, and then the winning team scores an empty netter to go. Like you can't get an empty netter when you need one, and they score an empty netter when you don't need it. But the more that I kind of listen to you chat on this, like I was leading Vancouver in this game. I just have an affinity for this team. I really like what they have. I know that they've been beat up and they've had a lot of kind of roster rotation. Lehkonen has been absolute. The funny thing about Lehkonen, if you really like dive into it, like the fact that he was available in September is hilarious. Like he's been so good, and you're telling me there's not 5, 6, 7 other teams in this league that could use him right now? Could Colorado use him? Could like you said, Carolina use him? Like the fact that he was available in September is absolutely wild to me. But the more you kind of say it, the more Buffalo, they've been squeaking out some really good, and I shouldn't even say squeaking out. Like they've been playing some really good hockey, and they've been getting the job done. And like you said, that game against Minnesota, I think for them to only lose that game 1-0, is actually a pretty good statement by them. The goaltending, whenever UPL's been in net, he's been very good. You know, Levi's been a bit kind of hit or miss, but the one thing that I love to bet on when it comes to Buffalo, and it's only hit 7 times, but I think it's going to start hitting a lot more. I love Peterka, man. I love JJ Peterka. I think he's been dealing with some injuries. He's been on and off the ice throughout the first couple months of the year. I do think Peterka is going to get hot as hotter as the season goes on. He is plus 230, I believe. Yeah, plus 230 to score tonight or today. And I always love me some JJ Peterka to put the puck in the net. And yeah, man, I was leaning Vancouver, but the more you were talking, the more I am kind of liking Buffalo in this game.
Yeah, so I mean, the question, Lankinen's going to start. Lankinen has been a lead on the road. He's like 967 save percentage. His high danger save percentage is at 900, which is what you look for. He's less than 5 shots. So to go back to the Rangers. So Vancouver in his 8 road starts is less than 5 high danger shots against. Shesterkin's 10. Like just to put the Rangers, I know I can't, and I'll beat a dead horse, but it's just the Rangers are so bad defensively right now. It's just crazy. Anyways, but yeah, Lankinen, I could see this. I could see a 3-2, 4-2 kind of game here. We're definitely not going to see a shootout. I would be shocked if we saw a shootout. Of course, Thanksgiving Friday, 3 early start, all bets. Essentially, all options are weird stuff happens all the time in afternoon games.
Yeah, 100%. And everybody had Thanksgiving off. Where were you? Were you flying out on Wednesday, flying in on Thursday? Were you got the turkey legs going? Like when I have turkey, I'm out of commission for like 3 days. I don't know about you, and I'm not a professional athlete by any means, but who knows what's going on over there. I would have the Flyers-Rangers game on my TV, but like I said, I have a son who I need to distract with screens, so he's quiet. I know it's parenting 101. When your kid is acting up, you put screens in front of him. I know all the child books say that. But
in that Flyers game, sir, I just put the score up.
Yeah.
The Flyers are out shooting the Rangers right now, 14-2.
That's insane.
14-2.
That's insane, man. And it's funny because the Rangers, this is how it was even for the Rangers last year. I remember having this conversation in the playoffs last year that the Rangers will give up a bunch of shots, but They'll be okay. They're not high danger shots. They're fine. They're whatever. But this year, man, like this trend has just taken on a life of its own. Philly is up 2-0. 2 minutes left in the first period. Moving on to a game that you would not circle in September, but you kind of would circle now. Like this game, I actually kind of find interesting. Calgary is in Columbus. They are both minus 110, even money for Calgary and Columbus. The minus 1.5 puck line leans to the Calgary side of things, plus 225 for Calgary, minus 1.5, plus 1.5 for the Blue Jackets is minus 290. The over is 6.5 at minus 104, and the under is minus 118. Now, I don't have a game for game. It's not up here in front of me right now, but I do know, and you people out there can fact check me, Sean. You can fact check me. I feel very strongly I'm right on this. When this total is really, really interesting to me. It's 6.5. Calgary, I know they lost 4-3 to Ottawa the other night, but Calgary, they hit the unders almost exclusively. Like all of their games recently have been 2-1, 3-2, 2-1, 2-1. Like they love low event hockey games. If they're losing 1-0 or 2-1 going into the third period, they have their opponent exactly where they want them. They just come back, tie it up, go to overtime, and win. But Columbus, when Columbus wins, this is the part I'm talking about fact checking. When Columbus wins, they score 5 or 6 goals. That's just what they do when they win. Like, I feel like we talked about this last week, like on the show. When they win, they've scored 4 a couple times, but almost all of their wins, they've scored 6 goals. It's insane. So the total is really curious to me because Calgary loves unders, but when Columbus wins, they put like pucks in the net. I know Vladar started the other night. I'm assuming that Dustin Wolf is in net for Calgary tonight, and Wolf has been a revelation, man. Like he's been a really, really, really solid between the pipes all year long. What do you got in this game, man? Calgary Columbus. This is a really interesting game to me.
So the $1 million question is: Does whose style of play wins out?
Right.
Does Calgary
exactly.
get dragged into a back and forth shootout? Because you're right. If you look at Columbus's like their wins in November, right? So they have wins of 5-4, 7-6, 5-1, 6-2, right? But they have losses of 4-3, 5-1, 5-1, 5-2, 4. So it's when they lose, they basically are because they score nothing. So
Right.
it's basically they score 5 or 6 or they score 1 or lose.
It's so fascinating.
There's no in between, and vice versa for Calgary, right? When Calgary, you're right, 2-1, 2-1, 3-2, 4-3, 2-0, or they lose 3-1, 4-3, 3-2, right? There's so who now the thing for Calgary is they're now they had a day off. Obviously, everybody had a day off yesterday. So their third game of the road trip, they're 4-6. Same Columbus is a little more rested. This is only Columbus's third game in the last 7 days, so they should have some legs. But what does that matter? Like, what does that mean, right? Like Elvis, we know Elvis is starting at home. Elvis is, like he's got a sub 900 save percentage. He's got a sub 800 high danger save percentage. Wolf has played well, but his high danger save percentage is only 750. His save percentage is 911. Vladar actually has better stats on the road for Calgary, funny enough. Depending how much you put into all this. I put a ton of into it for DFS because to find edges and matchups. But I mean, I think this game is not. It's literally we'll see 2-1, or does Calgary get dragged into the shootout? I know. I mean, it seems like Columbus wants to run and gun, and Calgary wants nothing to do with that. So the home team controls the matchups. Last change. because that's another thing too. Columbus is so on home ice. So Columbus has played 5 home games in November. They lost to Winnipeg 6-2. They beat Pittsburgh 6-2. They beat Tampa Bay 7-6. They beat Carolina 5-4, and they lost to Montreal 4-3. So in 5 home games, 7 goals has been the fewest goals in for them in home ice. Like every home game has been a ton of goals for Columbus.
That's crazy.
Like that's nuts.
Yeah.
Right? But can Calgary score? Can Calgary score 5 goals? Like Calgary has not scored. Jesus, Calgary scored 4 goals once this month. Once. They scored 4 goals once. And we go back to October. They had a couple. Yeah, they've scored 4 goals a few. But I mean, they've scored 4 goals 5 times in the entire season. Like Calgary literally is built to win 2-1.
100%. 100%. I'm right there with you. And I hear what you're saying about the home versus road stats for goaltending, where Vladar's been stronger. If I have to pick who I trust more between Elvis and Dustin Wolf, like I'm leaning Calgary here. It's a pick 'em for a reason. Like it's even money for a reason. The one thing about this game, sorry, just a complete side note, just a completely off topic but on topic. I'm really curious. I will be watching this game for you Canadian viewers. This is available on Sportsnet 1, and I'm really gonna be watching this game. I'm interested to see what they do for a tribute to Johnny Gaudreau, because these teams are playing. I don't think they've played against each other yet this year. I don't think, and this is going to be a topic of conversation all year long. Obviously, it's super sad and it's still heartbreaking to this day. But these two teams playing together in Columbus, you got to assume that they're going to do something for him at the beginning of the game. I'm interested to see. Have you seen anything on that?
So now I haven't seen anything in regards to today, but Columbus is going out to Calgary next month. When is it? So actually, they're in Calgary next Tuesday, and Calgary has invited the Gaudreau family out, so they're going to do something big in Calgary next week to honor Johnny and Matthew. That being said, I'm sure they're going to try. I'm sure they'll do something maybe again today. But next week in Calgary, they're doing it something big for obvious reasons.
Of course.
Columbus going out to Calgary, but the entire Gaudreau family has been invited by Calgary out. So that next Tuesday will be an emotional game for everybody involved for sure next week.
I just saw Elliot Friedman just retweeted Calgary Flames. Dan Vladar. Now, I don't think he's starting tonight, but Vladar does have a Johnny and Matthew mask that he will have for both games against Columbus, and then will be auctioned off for the Flames Foundation after these 2 games against Columbus. So I just saw that, which is a pretty cool thing. Now Daily Faceoff has Dustin Wolf as the unconfirmed starter, but I haven't seen it. But either way, that's a really cool thing. And if you're inclined to do so after next week's game against Columbus, like you mentioned, Dan Vladar will be auctioning that off for the Flames Foundation. So keep a lookout for that. But as far as the game itself, I really have a hard time with this one. I might just sit back and enjoy the ride and just let the game be. I do lean Calgary because Vladar, because Wolf looks to be in net. But this is just, like we said, it's a really intriguing matchup. One team that when they win, no one scores, and the other team when they win, they score 7. So I don't know where to go on this one.
Well, I mean, it's
Calgary, but we'll see.
I mean, it's easy that way. If Calgary wins, it'll be 2-1 or 3-2, and if Columbus wins, it'll be 5-4 or 6-5. Yeah. But I always will lean towards the goaltending and the defense in a coin toss situation like this. I give me the team that plays good defense and has had good goaltending. Uh, Columbus does not play good defense and has had average goaltending. Right, like I like Calgary to win this game. The goal and a half at plus 225. I like that. Like that's I bet that. I took a shot of that earlier. But yeah, I like Calgary. And like I said, I'll lean the goaltending and defense all the time. But that being now, could Calgary score 5 goals? Sure, but then I could see them winning 5-2.
Right. Yeah.
Like Columbus, I don't see Columbus putting up 5 or 6 against Calgary.
I will say too, he's been kind of not super hot as of lately. Sean Monahan's a plus 270. And I feel like this is one of those games that's super close to his heart. And we've seen him come up in big moments as the season's gone on. Sean Monahan, I know we're supposed to bet based on stats and trends and this and that, but Sean Monahan, if you follow this story even a little bit, you know that this is a really, really close situation for him. And I can see him coming out and putting up a goal tonight, plus 270. I'm okay with that. All right, moving on to the LA Kings and the Anaheim Ducks. I have, if you watch this show at all, you know that both of these two teams really, really frustrate me. And for reasons that have nothing to do with hockey. The shiny helmets for the Kings drive me insane. And the Ducks are just so orange. Like, they're so orange. My brother's a Ducks fan. And, like, every year when the Ducks come to Toronto, my brother and I go. And he's a big Ducks fan. We watch, like I said, when the Ducks come here, we go. I watch a lot of Ducks hockey just to keep up with it or whatever. And you know how it is, Sean. Like, the Ducks are on, like, you know, late at night. There's only a handful of games when the 10 o'clock hour rolls around. And I like watching this Ducks team play. They're so orange. Like, it drives me insane. Like, why? Jersey, pants, socks, helmet. It's so frustrating. And I'm not a fashion guru. Like, I'll call myself out right here and now. My wife buys all my clothes. Like, she tells me wear this and I wear it. I don't care. Like, what do I care? Like, I don't know. I'll wear sweatpants 24/7 if it's up to me. So I'm not claiming to be a fashion guru, but that orange sweatsuit they wear is awful. And the shiny helmets, this trend that's picking up steam around the league, that drives me nuts too. So this game, if the Ducks are wearing all orange and the Kings are wearing the shiny helmets, I'm not anywhere near this game. I will say, from a betting perspective, the Kings minus 210 at home, or on the road, sorry. The Ducks are plus 172. Minus 1.5 for the Kings is plus 126. Plus 1.5 for the Ducks is minus 154. The over is 5.5 at minus 128. And the under is plus 104. Straight up, full disclosure, and I won't get too crazy into this, I really like the Ducks in this game. I think the goaltending for the Ducks has been really good. I know they've had a little bit of kind of letdown spots over the last little bit. I think the Ducks, they've been playing really good competitive hockey. I really like what I've been seeing, like I said, from their goaltending battle. For today's game, just double checking here, Dostal is the unconfirmed goalie, and Portillo is in net for the Kings, unconfirmed. Goaltending issues for the Kings, really steady tandem for the Ducks. Why the line hasn't adjusted to this, Vegas is clearly smarter than I am. But to me, this is a really good spot for the Ducks at home. Thanksgiving Friday. I don't know. Like, something screams plus 172 is too high. The line should be closer. The Kings have been inconsistent at best over the last little bit. I don't know, man. What do you see in this game? To me, this is a really great spot for the Ducks.
Yeah, I mean their goaltending is Dostal and Gibson have been crazy done a crazy run. Like they've been lights out. Funny enough, Dostal has been a lot better on the road than he's been at home.
Interesting.
Take that for what you know. Like
Yeah.
as I've said earlier, I dig into these things because I have to try to find matchups. But that now, but LA, it's not like LA is a juggernaut by any stretch of imagination. They beat Winnipeg at home the other night, but I mean then they lost to San Jose 7-2 the game before that.
Right. Exactly.
And then they beat Seattle 2-1 the game, and then they lost to Buffalo 1-0. Right? Like who's showing up? And then Portillo, who? Like this is where they're how far down their depth chart are they now for the goaltending? Right. So, and the Ducks are a maddening. Like I can't wait for Cronin to get fired by the Ducks because that team should be so much better than they are.
It's weird.
Like, there's too much talent on that team to be playing the way they are. When Monty got fired, I thought Anaheim might have been one of those teams that might have said, oh yeah, let's jump on that. But Anaheim is just a 3-ring circus. It seems. I don't know what's going on over there. But yeah, I mean, like I said, and it's the same thing with the Calgary team, the Calgary Buffalo, or Calgary Columbus, right? When it comes down to a pick'em game, give me the defense and or goaltending to win out, right? Now, the Ducks aren't exactly a very good defensive team, and especially on home ice, they give up a ton of chances, right? So the high danger shots I was saying about the Rangers giving up almost 10, the Ducks are around 9. So they're not a great defensive team.
Right.
They get bailed out by elite goaltending. But it's the same thing the same conversation we had with Shesterkin. When Shesterkin's on and doing his thing, no problem. But if he's off, boom, 5-6 goals, right? So I mean, this game I could see. So I actually bet the Kings -2, -1.5 at plus what was it, plus 126. Now that was before I found out this their 9th ranked goalie in their organization is starting Portillo or Portobello Mushroom, whatever this guy is. So I mean, who knows what's going to happen there now?
Right.
I mean, this game I could see a lot. I got this game screams to me 6. Like I could see a 6-5, 5-4 game here. Ducks should. I could see the Ducks winning it just because they obviously will have a huge edge in goaltending. The difference is the Kings on the road are a good defensive team, right? They're one. They don't give up a lot of chances on the road. So, I mean, take it for what it's worth. Take it what you want. Like LA, like expected goals against on the road, LA is the best in the NHL. Like they just don't give up a ton, right?
Yeah.
But their goaltending has been horrific goaltending.
Well, and this is the thing this is the thing, man. Like I hear what you're saying about the defense. When I just look, and once again, I don't like looking at only stats. I like to watch the games and see what I'm seeing with my face. But I do like buy it. And I'm not talking about the deep dive stats that you're talking about. I'm just talking about like trends that you see when you look at the standings and they have all the like main stats and standings. But listen, the Kings on the road are 5-6-2. The last 10 games, the Kings are 5-5. At home, the Ducks are 4-6-1, and the last 10, they're 5-4-1. Like if we're going based on strictly what we're looking at in the standings columns, these two teams are right there with each other. Like there's not. You would think on paper the Kings outweigh the whatever. To me, I'm taking the Ducks on the as home dogs. Like you said, I like the goaltending matchup here. The Kings should win this game, but just looking at what I'm seeing from the goaltending, these odds shouldn't be what they are. Of course, Vegas always knows more than we do, but I do like the Ducks at plus 172 at home. All right, there's 5 games left to get to. Shout out, by the way, our viewing numbers have been going up throughout our time live. So we appreciate everybody watching, as always, taking time out of your Friday for us. Shout out, just you're watching the show, you jump on. Who's this guy with Mark? This is Sean from Rotoballers. He is a DFS king for Rotoballers. Check him out on Twitter at Big Number 5, and check out, he has all of his DFS links to all of his DFS plays there. So go check him out. And of course, if you want to get in on the Rotoballers action, he has promo codes he posts all the time. So check him out. Really good at what he does, which is why I have him on with me today while our guy Andre is enjoying his Thanksgiving weekend. There's 5 games left to get to. A couple of them I want to spend more time on, and we will get off here soon. So we'll kind of fly through the next couple games and then spend a couple more minutes on. And if you just look at what games are left, you can guess which games I want to talk a bit more about. So Seattle, San Jose, surprise, surprise, is not one of those games. Seattle is minus 160 on the road. Sharks are plus 132 at home. Minus 1.5 for the Krakens, plus 158. Plus 1.5 for the Sharks is minus 196. The over is 5.5 at minus 132. And the under is plus 108. I don't know, Sean, you tell me what you think here. I like the way the Sharks have been playing. Like, they've been playing some pretty good hockey lately. Their young kids, specifically Celebrini, are doing their thing. I think the goaltending for the Sharks has really shapen up over the last couple weeks. I'm leaning the under 5.5 is plus 108 here. Seattle is a team that I do not trust. I do not think they should be minus 160 against anybody, especially on the road. I do not trust this team. The Sharks are plus 132. I'll probably stay away from picking a side here, but this under plus 108 is really talking to me. Under 5.5 plus 108 is really talking to me. What do you see in this game?
Yes, yeah, Seattle. Yeah, I don't have confidence in them at all. Certainly favored by 2 goals. So Vanasek it's not Black. So Blackwood has been very good for them. Vanasek has been very good for them. They're definitely, it's not the San Jose team from last year. They definitely are an improved squad. Celebrini has been like, I've been all over Celebrini for DFS, for shots. The kid's shooting the puck a ton. I could see the under happening here. Seattle's not setting anybody on fire. Like, they're almost like a Calgary in turn. They don't score a ton of goals. I think Grubauer's scheduled to start. He's not great. San Jose will get to him. I could absolutely see a 4-3 San Jose win in this game, something like that. A 5-3 with an empty netter. From a hockey. Honestly, of all the games today, really, this game is. Celebrini, the kids. I love seeing the young kids, up and comers, and see what they're doing. But in terms of watching this game of the entire slate, it's well down my list of games that I will make
Sure.
I want to make sure I want to get a piece of. But DFS wise, I like the third line for Seattle, right? The right Tolvanen and Bjorkstrand line. I actually bet Bjorkstrand for a goal. The last game they lost, I think it was 5-2. Anaheim beat them 5-2. But that Bjorkstrand's line scored both goals. They seem to be it for them right now. Bernier, like those guys, like Chandler Stevenson, how bad is that contract looking right now? Like he's got, what did I see? He's got 15 shots or something on the seat. What did I see? I had to do a double check.
That's it?
He had 16. So he, in his last 3 games, he's got 1 shot. Like he's on the second line, like against Anaheim, home and home with Anaheim, he had 1 shot in 2 games. This is your second line center.
I know.
Like, oh my God, how bad is that contract?
Yeah, he has 21 shots on the year. That's crazy.
20 is that what he has?
That according
21
to
shots.
NHL.com, he has 21 shots
21
in 23 games.
Like, if you're a pass for, like, if you're a facility, like, he's got 1 goal and 12 assists. I don't care. That's ridiculous. Your second line center. That nothing about Seattle scares me at all. No, I'm with you. I like San Jose in this game. Yeah, I mean, but like, I'm not going out of my way anything here. But
No.
I can see, I see the 4-2, 4-3 San Jose win kind of thing. As long as Bjorkstrand gets me my goal, I don't care.
Yeah. So just a quick note, and then we'll move on to the next game, which is like two tire fires meeting each other here. We'll talk about the next game, but for Chandler Stevenson, this guy, he became a free agent at the perfect time for him. Because the reason why, in my opinion, and again, who am I? Whatever. I'm not an insider. I watch these games and I say what I think, but I think he got the money he got because there was no centers available. They needed a center. There was no one available. So Stevenson and his agent are like, "Hey, you want us? There's no real guys available. This is what it's going to cost." And they felt it was necessary to pay it. And I don't necessarily, I think Chandler Stevenson's a good player, not worth what he got paid, but it's supply and demand, man. And there was no one else available. And they paid what they thought they needed to get a trustworthy center on their roster. And it's just not really panning out. And we're seeing this, right? We saw this with Marchessault. Stamkos is starting to come around, but we're seeing this with a lot of these big name signings in the summer. And, Stevenson's not a Stamkos signing or a Marchessault signing, but Stevenson was really good for Vegas for, quite a while. He was good with Washington back in the Cup days. So, Stevenson's a good player, and he has been for a long time, but it's not really panning out so far in Seattle. And yeah, the more that you talk about it, Sean, the more I'm kind of right there with you, where I'm looking at San Jose here on that plus 132. Celebrini's been great. The one quick thing I will say too, and one guy that I've really, really liked, he's on my fantasy team, not DFS, but he's on my fantasy roster. And I like him on the shot prop almost every night, is Tyler Toffoli, man. Wherever this guy goes, he scores goals and he gets shots on net. And so I'm here for some Tyler Toffoli action as well. Moving on to Pittsburgh and Boston. Oh my goodness. This game is curious to me. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it because we got two games coming up that are really, really fascinating that I want to spend a couple more minutes on. But Pittsburgh plus 142 coming off that big win against Vancouver. But even that, dude, they were up. Weren't they up like 5-1 against Vancouver? And they squeaked that game out by the skin of their teeth. Pittsburgh's plus 142. Boston is minus 172. Minus 1.5 is plus 146 for Boston. Plus 1.5 for Pittsburgh is minus 184. The over is 5.5 at minus 118. And the under is minus 104. I am not betting this game. I am not. I will recommend the under. I think the under is a good play here. Ever since Boston's new coach has come in, they have all been significant unders. I do not believe, except that game against the Islanders. That was a 6-3 win for Boston. But other than that, the other three games of the four that they have had Joe Sacco behind the bench, they were all significant unders. To me, I like the under here. Both of these teams are not very good right now. I know Boston made a coaching change. Their defensive style has changed. They got those 6 goals the other night, but I don't trust what I'm seeing from Boston. I still think something's broken there. And Pittsburgh is just a tire-fire crapshoot. Who knows what we're getting? I'll recommend the under, but I'm not betting this game. What do you see here?
If Boston loses, do they fire their second coach in 10 days?
Oh, boy, you'd think.
Like, yeah, I have This is just a gross game. I don't like this game at all. I mean, I'll bet pasta for a goal. That's about it. I'm not betting anything else. Certainly not betting anything for Pittsburgh. Yeah, this is just one of those games that whatever. I mean, as a Leaf fan, I hope Boston loses.
Of course,
that's just funny.
Yeah.
I hope Pittsburgh pounds them because that'll be really funny. But in terms of DFS or anything, I nothing on this game.
Yeah,
Pasta's it. Like I bet pasta for a goal. But as a one-off, I could see like Pasta should get there against Pittsburgh, especially I get Jari starting in net, where he's projected.
Yeah,
I mean Jeremy Swayman, my God, I don't know what the hell happened there.
Dude, I said this.
Just thanks for the money, and I'm actually not a good goalie. I don't know.
I said this all year long, and I said this. I guess this is Mark Sauter pumping tires day. I just like to build up my ego, but I said this in the preseason, and I said this when he finally signed. When goalies miss training camp, whether it's for injuries or contract purposes or anything, when goalies miss training camp, it is not good. It's not good. And like we saw this a little bit with Joseph Wall here in Toronto. He played a little bit in training camp, but they were really like, kids' gloves with him because he's always hurt. And when he finally came back in the lineup a couple weeks into the season, he wasn't too good for his first couple starts. Now, Joseph Wall has been very good ever since then. But when he first got into the lineup, it took him a few games to get his legs under him after only playing like a game and a half in training camp. And with Jeremy Swayman, I saw this coming a mile away, man. Like, you missed the entirety of training camp. You're not injured. You're holding out for a contract, and he has not been good. So I'm there with you. I like Pasternak to score a goal, and I like Crosby to score a goal too. Like, poor guy scores his 600th goal of his career in a 6-1 loss to Utah. Like, it's like he'll score, he'll get his. I like Crosby. I like Pasta. I just got a notification from my from Yahoo Fantasy. Austin Matthews has been changed from IR to healthy, which is good. We'll see some Austin Matthews tomorrow night. It's about time. My fantasy roster, I've been hanging on by the skin of my teeth without him. But let's move on. 2 games here back-to-back that I really do like, and then we will move on. Long show today, lots to get into. Once again, appreciate Sean joining me, and appreciate all you guys spending your Friday afternoon with us. Winnipeg in Vegas. These 2 next games, Winnipeg and Vegas, Colorado and Dallas, in my opinion, are the 2 games of the night. It's a shame that they have to overlap each other because these 2 games are by far, to me, the games of the night. Winnipeg, Vegas, minus 115 are the Jets on the road. Really interesting. They are favorited, minus 115 in Vegas, minus 104. Now, I do think that the Jets are the better team, but to be favored on the road against Vegas is pretty high praise here. Vegas, like I said, minus 104 at home, minus 1.5 for the Jets is plus 210, plus 1.5 for the Knights is minus 265. The over is 5.5 at minus 130. The under is plus 106. Now, I did bet the Jets minus 1.5 against the Kings. I got to admit, I got some blinders on with this team. I love the Jets. I loved them last year. Everyone was talking about this year like they were going to fall off the face of the earth. I didn't understand why. Did I expect them to be what they are right now? Of course not. But the Jets are a good team. They have the best goaltender in the league. Now, my college is in Winnipeg. I have friends in Winnipeg. Maybe I got some bias. I don't know. But the Jets on the road in Vegas, this to me is an under 5.5 all day long, plus 106. Aiden Hill, Connor Hellebuck, 2 really good goaltenders. Aiden Hill has been hit or miss this year, but still a great goalie. I really like the Jets in this matchup. Minus 115 on the money line and I love that under plus 106. What do you see in this game, man? I love it. This is going to be a great game.
It's going to be a fantastic game. I can't wait. I can't actually wait to watch these games. More so, just for as a hockey fan, I like the Jets in this game as well. Once again, take it for this is what I do. Aiden Hill on home ice has actually been stat wise worse than Samsonov. His save percentage is under 900. His high danger save percentage is only 800. Winnipeg's going to get their chances. Vegas is defensively on home ice is middle of the pack. They're not elite. They're not bottom of the league, but they're middle of the pack. They're going to give up their chances. So what Winnipeg is going to get, and this year they've buried those chances. So I like Winnipeg in this game. I actually bet the Jets at -1.5 at the goal, the -1.5 goal total, the spread, the spread. Sorry, my brain's frying here. For plus 210. I think I'll take Hellebuck over against Hill every day. Saying, defense and goaltending give me in a toss-up game. Vegas has been good on home ice. Vegas is a good team. I just think the Jets. I think the Jets get it done today, and especially with the whole road team Thanksgiving theory. Vegas was at home loading up on turkey yesterday. Winnipeg was there. One thing that we discovered is the road teams over American Thanksgiving are in their routines. They're nothing changes. Home teams during American Thanksgiving are not in any routine, are having family and friends over. And like you were saying, they were getting their turkey on yesterday and, could have the turkey legs today. So yeah, I like the Jets. I like Hellebuck over Hill. Hellebuck is probably, not probably, Hellebuck's going to be the U.S. starter in the tournament come the spring. Kind of funny how Swayman might not even make that team for the U.S.
No,
which is kind of
they're stacked in net, dude. The Americans are stacked in net.
They're U.S. has a clear advantage over Canada, and
yes,
that's it's
big time.
It's extreme the difference there. The U.S. is going to be a tough team. They're going to be loaded. Anyways, that's a conversation for down the road. But yeah, I like the Jets. I like the Jets -1.5. I like Kyle Connor to score.
Yes.
And yeah, I'm on the Jets on this one.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. Kyle Connor's plus 150. Kind of sneaky. Like, this goes kind of against a little bit what we're saying. Not really, but so Jack Eichel is a player that I don't really know why. This doesn't really make sense, but I'm always kind of skittish to bet Jack Eichel. I don't know why. He scores goals, he gets points. He's right up there with the point leaders this year. I don't really know why I'm skittish, but Jack Eichel 2+ points is plus 190 tonight. If they lose 3-2, I can see him being in on both their goals. The other 2 points I really like: Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele, and Josh Morrissey. All these guys are in on a very high percentage of Jets goals. 2 points for Kyle Connor is plus 235. 2 points for Scheifele is plus 260. 2 points for Josh Morrissey is plus 350. Now, I was reading some Winnipeg Jets beat writers, and there seems to be a pretty large consensus that Mark Scheifele doesn't seem right now. Seems pretty banged up. I don't really know the extent of that. But these beat writers, they're with the team every single day. I gotta say, there's probably smoke there, or if there's smoke, there's fire, right, with this one. So I'm a little bit hesitant to bet on Mark Scheifele with that knowledge. But this guy's been unreal this year. Kyle Connor, unreal this year. And I really like what I'm seeing from all those guys. So give me Jets money line, and I like 2+ points for. Take your pick. Eichel, Connor, Scheifele, Morrissey. I like 2+ points for all those guys. obviously for them all to get 2+ points is who knows, but I like what we're seeing. And hey, listen, if you're up for some degenerate Black Friday activity, Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele, and Josh Morrissey, all 2+ points is plus 1049. So why not throw it in there? But I'm right there with you on this one.
Yeah, I mean, if Shifley was hurt, I mean, with the start they've had, why would they play him? Like it's November. I mean, it's the
I'm
same
with
thing
you.
with Toronto
Yeah.
with Matthews, right? Like that Matthews has missed what all of November, 9 games, 10 games. There's not a chance he plays tomorrow. If they're even if there's a 10% risk, he could aggravate whatever the hell's going on with him, right? That's the beauty about the NHL over the NBA and these whatever, right? Like guys are going to play, and if they're playing, I'm not worried about it. Especially in November. Like if it was in April, guys play hard in April, that's different, right? But in
Yeah.
November, if Shifley was anything serious or whatever, they wouldn't play him. They don't need to play him. Why would you risk that? Like, right? So I like that 2 point ad. I like that 2 point play, by the way. I'm probably going to bet that.
Yeah, I like it too. By the way, shout out to you from way back 2 hours ago at the beginning of the show. You were talking about the Trocheck line. Panarin, Laffy, and Trocheck. Trocheck just got on the board here. And I'm interested to see, though. Let me see. Will Cooley, the assist, 2-1 Philly. Will Cooley, man.
You know why? I guarantee you, after that 3-shot first period, that Lavely he threw his lines into a blender. Guaranteed.
100%. 100%.
Guaranteed
Will,
those lines hit the blender.
who knew Will Cooley was going to be the hottest player on the Rangers at the end of November?
Right?
That's so funny. But all right, let's move on. 2 more games to get to. We'll talk a little bit about Colorado and Dallas next. Edmonton, Utah. Not too much there, I don't think, but maybe my co-host today feels differently. But Colorado in Dallas. Colorado is plus 106 on the road. Well, plus 105 now on the road. Dallas is now minus 126. Minus 1.5 for the Stars is plus 186. Plus 1.5 for the Avalanche, minus 235. The over is 6.5 at minus 110, and the under is the same. I like Dallas here. I like Dallas minus 128. I like them. Their players have been wildly inconsistent. The old guys are scoring. The young guys are not. Their goaltending, for the most part, aside from the other night, Jake Ottinger's had a pretty good start to the season. Ottinger is always kind of due for a weird game every now and then. But I do like what we're seeing from him as a whole this season so far. Just overall 11-4, 243 goals against, 912 save percentage, only 1 shutout on the year, but I do like what we're seeing from Otter. Colorado, just what I know that the other night Georgiev I know they lost 8-2. Didn't they play another game after that where it was a close game, right?
Colorado?
Yeah.
Colorado. Let's have a look.
That Tampa Bay game wasn't their last game, I don't think.
They beat Vegas 2-1 in a shootout.
Yeah, there you go. So they had a bounce back game there. Still with this goaltending, I mean, I know they have, take your pick, man. Rantanen, Lettinen, McKinnon, Nikushkin's back. Makar, like, take your pick. But with this goaltending, bro, I have a hard time backing Colorado. And still, even after that game against Vegas, I still have a hard time with it.
No, Georgiev, whatever. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, George 5.
Brutal. Just brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, I'll have some exposure to Colorado with DFS. I'll probably bet some points here and there. I got Nikushkin for a goal, but I prefer Dallas side on this all the time. Jake Ottinger is leagues better than Georgiev. I mean, Dallas has got to be sitting there, and I mean, they haven't played well. We talked about it before we went live, them trying to figure out that first line. Like they lost to Carolina 6-4. That I mean, They got smoked by Chicago 6-2. Like you got to figure they're gonna come out and be like, all right, like we got to get our ass out, their head out of our ass here. Let's go.
At home, Thanksgiving, you have to.
Yeah, for sure. So I prefer Dallas on big time, for that as well. But
Yeah.
I mean, hey, 5-4, like could be a shootout. Yeah, sure, absolutely. But I figured Dallas is going to lean on that side, that more than Colorado, just for the goaltending.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. So before we move on, I do want to ask you. So I am taking Dallas minus 128. The total scares me just because of what we just said with the Colorado goaltending. Like, why wouldn't Colorado give up 6 goals tonight? Who knows? I don't know. I'm leaning under. It's probably over. I'm just sticking with Dallas money line, and we'll leave it at that. Now, I do want to ask you, because we talked about this a little bit, like off air. What's your approach to Dallas as far as DFS goes? Because I follow Dallas pretty closely, and I'm pretty curious. Like, this was supposed to be the passing of the guard, right? You had, Joe Pavelski retire. Jamie Benn is not too far off there from retirement. Tyler Seguin, Mason Marchment, they're still all very effective players, but they're in the back, not even back 9. They're on hole like 15, 16. Like they're getting towards the end. But like you mentioned before the show too, Matt Duchene, like their most productive player this year. This was supposed to be a passing of the guard to your Stankoven, who's played well, but your Rope Hintz, your Jason Robertson, your Wyatt Johnston. What's your approach as far as DFS goes? Because as far as betting goes, I have no idea where to go with this.
So last year Dallas was easy. It was easy, right? You had they had their set lines, their 3 lines. Their third line, I played a ton of their third line on home ice because it was Johnston, Stankoven, and Benn. They were dominant. They were dominant in the playoffs. Pavelski retiring has messed them up there because they have not been able to figure out a replacement. They've tried everybody. Right now on home ice, Dallas second line, Duchene, Seguin, and Marchment has been their best line, and by far. Against Colorado today, I expect that's the line that will get this done. I have no interest in their third line. Bork, who's been decent, but Bork, Benn, and Dadonov, no interest there. Hintz, Robertson, and Johnston should be a good line, but they just haven't found it yet. They just have not found.
Yeah, dude, they should be lighting it up right now.
Yeah, that's the talent. The problem is Wyatt Johnston's a center, right? He's a center, and they're trying to force him onto the wing, which I get, I understand, but you know what? Go back to the way it was. Have your second and third line be dominant, and just hope you get lucky in the first line, right? Like Hintz has been lost. Robertson's. I mean, what has Robertson got? 6 goals, 5 goals, 6 goals. I think I saw. Like, didn't he? He was flirting with 50, wasn't he last year? 44, 45, like. Yeah, Dallas. Give me Dallas 2 tonight. I will be betting them for a point. Full line point to Shane's Marchment and Seguin for a full line point tonight. I think if they get it done, that's the team. That's the line that's going to do it. And the rest are kind of a void for me.
Well, and you're talking about Robertson. So 5 goals, 8 assists, 49 shots, to me, like, you look at it, 49 shots. Okay, 49 shots. That's just over 2 shots per game. Like, he should be pumping at least 3 shots a game, like, at least. And that confidence, you can tell, is been wavering a little bit for him. But yeah, really interesting stuff with Dallas, dude. They're a lot like, we can kind of segue this a little bit. Like, Dallas, it's different. It is very different, but Dallas is a little bit like the Oilers for me, where I don't like betting props with them because either it's top heavy or it's like, I don't really know where to go when it comes to Dallas for props. But I do like them to win tonight at -128. I'm right there with you. The last game of the day. Once again, shout out to everybody for hanging out with us. The majority of our viewers have been with us for the entire 2 hours. So I really appreciate all you guys hanging out with us. Sean, the Edmonton Oilers, -166 in Utah. Utah, one of those teams when they were Arizona last year, I actually really, really liked. I thought, like, even though, like you know, the Coyotes had their fall off in the back half of the year, but prop-wise, and I don't know if it was this way DFS, but prop-wise, Utah, or like the Coyotes last year, were a pretty reliable team. I'm not feeling the same way this year. Edmonton -166. Actually, some Utah money is coming in. Edmonton's now -152 on the road. Utah is +126. -1.5 for the Oilers is +156. +1.5 for Utah is -194. The over is 6.5 at -106, and the under is -114. Where are you leaning? Edmonton, Utah. I don't really have a read on this game, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. Edmonton should be an easy -1.5. Don't even watch the game. Just count your money in the morning. But I don't trust this Oilers team right now at all. What do you see here? Edmonton, Utah, the last game of the night.
So Picard is starting for the Oilers tonight,
Okay.
which is interesting. He has actually been lights out, their best goalie, believe it or not. He's been lights out better than Skinner. Like it's it's been not close, actually. He on the road, he's been elite. He's up there among the elite goalies on the road. Picard. Save percentage, his high danger save percentage. You know, once again, you know, anyone who's just joining us for DFS purposes, that's something I weigh very heavily, especially home and away splits. So I like that for the Oilers. I was kind of actually hoping Skinner was going to start because I'm going to have some exposure to Utah. Betting wise, I like Guenther. I'm going to bet Guenther. I like that line with him and Cooley and McBain. They've been playing well. The Oilers, obviously, you know, it's the usual suspects, but Veggie starting in net for Utah, and he's when he's on, he's elite. On home ice, he's been one of the best. Same thing. His 940 save percentage in 5 home starts, and his high danger save percentage is 955. I was hoping for Ingram to get the start today because he's been an absolute pylon. But it's Veggie for Utah. So honestly, this game, I could see this game being a 3-2, 4-2 scenario. Honestly, I mean, the 2 preceding games I will be watching before I watch this game.
For sure.
I mean, I'll probably sprinkle McDavid and Draisaitl maybe. But Veggie's burned me so many times in the past. I still remember from a few years ago, Veggie with Arizona walking into Winnipeg and putting up like a 55 save performance while I was sitting there loaded up on Kyle Connor and Scheifele and them and beating them 2-1 or something like that, or 1-0, I think it was. Like he had just ever since then, he's been on my radar to basically avoid, and that's how it's been. That I don't know if you remember when the Utah game in Toronto. Did you watch that Utah game?
Oh yeah, big time last Sunday. Yeah.
If not for like Toronto should have had 6 or 7 that game. Like they in that second period, they dominated Utah. And Veggie stood on his head, kept them in the game, and they got it to 3-2, and they might have they get it to overtime. They steal a point.
Well, he did that a couple weeks ago. Who was the team he played against? He had like 52 saves or something crazy. It was a couple.
I have to double check, but yeah, I know what you're talking. I remember what you're talking about. I can't remember the team though.
Yeah, I can't remember who they were playing.
That's what he does.
Yeah,
like I don't actively look to attack Veggie. Like he's when he's on, he's one of the best in the league.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you, man. Well, that wraps up the Black Friday slate in the NHL. As always, Might be throwing a little bit. I forgot to tell you that we do this, but you're a smart dude. You know the league. You can think on your feet. We now move on to our best bets. Brought to you by First Round Collectibles. Right now, with our promo code Sports Addict, get 10% off whatever sports card you want in the entire First Round Collectibles store. They have an ongoing sale, up to 50% off, tons of cards. And with our promo code Sports Addict, not only do you get 10% off of regular priced items, but sales items as well. Go to firstroundcollectibles.com today. Promo code Sports Addict, 10% off. That is firstroundcollectibles.com, number one, STRoundcollectibles.com. First Round Collectibles, sports cards for sports fans. Out of all of these games, dude. And if you want, I can go first, but if you have one right off the top of your head, of course, Panthers, Carolina start in about half an hour. Rangers and Blackhawks are underway right now. Chicago is up 1-0. Philly is up 2-1. Out of all of these games, man, can you pick just one? Your favorite bet of the day? What jumps out at you?
Oof. Geez, that's a good one.
I know. I should have warned you. This is my fault. I should have warned you.
Probably the Jets. I like the Jets -1.5. That's probably on the spot. Have to pick one. That's probably where I'd go. If I knew that Cam Talbot wasn't starting for Detroit, Cam Talbot's starting for Detroit. Damn it, too bad. All right, so Cam Talbot is confirmed for the Red Wings. So that's,
he is.
That's confirmed. Because that would have been my favorite bet for sure. Devils money, Devils everything. If it was Husso or Lyon, but Talbot is in net. So I'm gonna go with the Jets. Jets -1.5 as my favorite bet of the day.
Okay, Jets -1.5. That's plus 210 on FanDuel. There's a few different ways I could go with this one. I do like Dallas. We'll get a little bit of afternoon action here. I think so. He is starting Cam Talbot. That's
Cam
confirmed.
Talbot just confirmed on left wing lock. Yeah.
Okay, so Cam Talbot confirmed. Jacob
Markstrom confirmed for the Islanders, so that I like the under in that game too.
For Islanders Capitals, yeah. I'm gonna take the under in Detroit Devils under 6.5. Under 6.5 -138. Yeah. I do like the Devils to win. That -194 is way too expensive for me. I don't like the -1.5. But that under 6.5, if Kim Talbot's in net, which he is, and Jacob Markstrom's net on the other side, I like the under 6.5 at -138 for Devils and Detroit. And since Andre is not here, you got something to add, bro? I feel like I saw you got something to add there.
Jace, yes, yeah. So Johansson and not Vasilevsky is in net for Tampa Bay.
Ooh.
So Nashville at where the hell is it? -1.5 is plus 164. Their money line is 140 now, -140.
Yeah.
But Jason Johansson is in net for Tampa Bay, so that is a big boost to the Preds because he's been an absolute pylon too.
When we talked about that game, Nashville was -115, and we didn't really understand the line then. And now you just said it, -140. So since Andre's not here, we'll throw out one more. Now you can disagree with me if you want to. I know this is a big odd. I don't know. I have a good feeling about the Ducks tonight, man. I feel like for the third leg of that parlay, I really like the Ducks at plus 172 against the Kings. Is there a different bet that kind of jumps out to you?
No. No. The Kings are just such a Jekyll and Hyde.
I know.
I mean, and the wild card is this. Who's this kid? Portolio. Who's this kid starting? Right. So
yeah,
give me. Dostal doing his thing. Yeah, I could get behind that. Good odds, plus 172. I mean, if it was shorter odds, I would be maybe a little more skeptical. But plus 172. Yeah.
I don't really understand like, we don't know. I already forgot the guy's name. Like, straight up, I don't know anything about him. I'm not a goaltending guru. I'm not, I don't. This kid could be the next Brodeur. I have no idea. But for the odds to be what they are with a no-name goaltender in net, it's kind of curious to me. And maybe Vegas is trying to warn us, but I'm blowing right through that warning sign. So for our best bets, we have, courtesy of Sean, we have the Winnipeg Jets -1.5 plus 210. The under in New Jersey and Detroit under 6.5 is -138, and the Anaheim Ducks +172 at +1354. Sean, before we leave for the afternoon, where can I kind of give you a shout out earlier on in the show, but where can people find you? Where can they find your work? Plug what you got going on.
Yep. So I'm with rotorballer.com. I'm obviously with the NHL, do content, write articles. We have our heat map with my partner, Doug Shane. Shout out to Dougie. You can reach me on Twitter at bignumber55, and promo code Goody gets you 10% off everything that all the winning at Rotoballer.
Absolutely love it. Sean, really appreciate you joining me. I know we've been talking back and forth for a little bit now, so it's great to have you on the show. Really appreciate it. We'll always keep you in the bullpen, bro. If we need you, we'll absolutely call you. Really appreciate it. Andre will be back on Monday. Everybody have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your weekend. If you're in the States, I'm sure you'll continue the Thanksgiving festivities. Shout out to First Round Collectibles, promo code SportsAddict for 10% off. Shout out, as always, to Total Apex Sports. Lock bet in, bet on in the NFL. Check out what they got going on. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. We will see you tomorrow.